Hi, hello, welcome to another raid build video. We are going to be doing the forces of nature today, and there's a lot going on with them, so I kind of had to restrict what we're going to do here because there's incarnate form, there's Therian form. In today's video, we are going to go over the incarnate forms of the four forces of nature, which is Tornadus, Thundurus, Landorus, and Enamorus. With that being said, they will probably do another video about the Therian forms because it does change what they would do in raids or how you would use them. If anything, I don't suggest that you probably run out and build all four of these, but they do fit specific niches and they're fun to use. And if you really like one of these, the whole point of my raid videos is not so you like watch them and then when you're done, build every single one. If you have a shiny Pokemon or one of these legendaries or any of the other Pokemon, I just did a video on the Hisui Pokemon. If you really like them, then that's awesome because then you have something to work with or you at least have a starting ground. Another thing I want to say about my raid videos is you don't have to copy them to a T. If anything, I hope my raid builds inspire you or at least give you a starting place of what you could do with these Pokemon. I'm pretty happy what we came out with for the incarnate forms. Not the Therian forms. That'll be a future video. But let's start with Tornadus here. So Tornadus is a pure flying type Pokemon. It has two really good abilities. The first one is Prankster. The second one is Defiant. We're gonna go with Defiant for both Thundurus and Tornadus, and I guess I'll answer this here. The reason we're going to go Defiant is because if the raid boss lowers our stats in any ways, that's going to give us a boost because of how Defiant works. Prankster is an incredible ability, and how it works is if you're using a status type move like Tailwind or Thunder Wave or Nasty Plot, you are going to go first regardless of speed. The problem in raids, though, that gets a little bit messed up if your teammates standing next to you hit the button before you. Because the raid boss and you have your own speeds that it's going to compare. But, for example, if you are a Grimmsnarl with Prankster and you're going to use Light Screen, you would theoretically, or technically, go before everyone else because of your ability. And if you're standing next to a Regieleki, which has an incredible speed stat, you would still go before that because of how Prankster works. But the problem is if the Regieleki hits, Electro Web before you hit Light Screen, the raid is going to start and the raid boss is going to determine its move. That is why in 6-star raids against Annihilate, you might try to Prankster taunt the Annihilate to stop it from using Focus Energy, but one of your teammates hit the button before you, which triggered Annihilate to also go, which is why even though you Prankster taunted Annihilate, Focus Energy still goes off. That's not to say that Prankster isn't useful or isn't good in raids, but it requires way more coordination of let the Prankster Pokemon hit their button first. But I think Defiant works great here because a lot of these are more attackers and not specifically supporters. So yeah, speaking of attack, Thundurus's base special attack is 125, and it has a decent attack stat. All of these attackers can be mixed. All of the forces of nature could be mixed. I think for most of them, we're going to lean into special attack because that stacks with acid spray support, and we built a couple acid sprayers in our Hisui video, and they pair really well together. And by being pure flying, we are weak to electric, ice, and rock. So moveset wise on Tornadus, we're actually going to do a modest build to boost its special attack and not worry about its physical attack. And we're going to use Hurricane, Chilling Water, Rain Dance, and Nasty Plot. The cool thing about Rain Dance and Hurricane is not only is Hurricane an incredibly strong special flying type move at 110 base damage, in the rain, it never misses. It like bypasses the accuracy check altogether. So even if you had like -6 accuracy, Rain Dance makes Hurricane just never misses. I know people might say like, oh, Hurricane has 100% chance of hitting in the rain. It does, but it's more than that. It's to the point where it doesn't miss. Chilling Water will control physical raid bosses that you are against. Also, if you decide to Rain Dance first, Chilling Water not only gets the special, takes advantage of Tornadus' special attack, but gets boosted in the rain. And then finally, we have Nasty Plot. So Nasty Plot to boost your special attack. The Held item we're using on Tornadus is Shell Bell. you could also use something like Sharp Beak just to boost Hurricane's damage. You could also use Damp Rock to extend the range of rain. But I think if you look at my Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza raid build video, you might be getting free rain if people are bringing Kyogres to raids. You can be a little bit flexible on that. Again, you don't have to use the exact held items I'm using. There are a lot that are really good out there and can be mixed and matched depending on your own playstyle. Other possible moves that you can put on Tornadus are Taunt or Air Slash. The reason you might want to go the Air Slash route is so you don't have to Rain Dance to set up Hurricane. I do think, though, after calculating damage, spending one turn to do Rain Dance to hit Hurricanes that never miss will out-damage Air Slash. So it does benefit you from setting up the rain to hit a Hurricane. Hurricane also has a chance to confuse, which is only a good thing for your team. I talked about how there were better flying type attackers. Rayquaza is a dragon flying. I said there are better dragon Pokemon out there. There still are. We haven't talked about them yet. And there are better flying Pokemon out there. I actually think the Forces of Nature does the flying thing better than what Rayquaza can. Now, Rayquaza's special attack is 150, and Tornadus's is 125. So Rayquaza is a little bit stronger. But in this situation of Hurricane and Rain Dance, Rayquaza can do that too, except for Rayquaza's ability Airlock shuts off the Rain Dance, so you don't get that accuracy increase with Hurricane. So I think this ends up being a little bit better. And I think I like the Forces of Nature, so I'm like really excited to do this video because I love these Pokemon. The next Pokemon we're going to be talking about is Thundurus. Thundurus is an electric flying Pokemon. Again, we went over the Prankster Defiant. We're going to go Defiant here. And if you've ever done competitive, you normally see in VGC in double competitive battles, you normally see Thundurus actually running like an assault vest to make it more bulky. And we could maybe do a similar thing here with Thundurus and put the assault vest on, but I think Thundurus gets too many good support moves to pass up. To make this really easy to remember, Thundurus and Tornadus have exactly the same stats. I'm flipping between the two. Thundurus is weak to ice and is weak to rock, so it has less weaknesses than Tornadus does. I didn't talk about the new signature moves that these Pokemon got from Pokemon Legends Arceus. So Tornadus gets access to what is called Bleak Wind Storm. Thundurus gets access to Wild Bolt Storm. Landorus gets access to Sandsteer Storm. Enamorus gets access to Springtide Storm. Now, why are those important? A lot of websites, as of this recording, like Bulbapedia or Pokemon Database, are not completely up to date with what these moves do. We actually just recently found out that, like Hurricane, these moves get an accuracy increase in the rain. So I'll place the tweet up here. But pretty much it's a tweet that says Bleakwood Storm, Wind Bolt Storm, and Sandsteer Storm all have sure hit accuracy in the rain like Hurricane, although Springtide Storm does not have this behavior. Now these moves normally have 80% accuracy, so they're really hard to recommend in raids. Like Kyogre and Groudon signature moves, Origin Pulse and Precipice Blades have 85% accuracy, and I still don't feel super comfortable recommending those in raids. But they all have specific effects. Like Wild Bolt Storm has a 20% chance to paralyze. Tornadus's has a chance to lower the speed. Landorus's has a chance to burn. But they also hit both opponents in a double battle. And that's what makes them kind of crazy. Now, that's kind of useless to us in a raid battle, but I just wanted to teach you guys something. And in the case, going back to Tornadus, Hurricane is stronger than Bleak Wind Storm. And the confusion in raids, I think, is more valuable than the speed drop that you would get in raids. Going back specifically to Thundurus, what I actually have here is Wild Bolt Storm, the new signature move, Charge Beam, Snarl, and Rain Dance. And we're actually going to use Wide Lens on Thundurus, and let me explain why. So starting with Charge Beam, because it's a really cool move, it does 50 damage and it's 90% accurate, but it will have a 70% chance of increasing your special attack by one stage. And the really cool thing about that is with Wide Lens, that changes it from 90% to 99% accurate, and then so you're hitting the raid boss at 99% accurate. Ideally, hopefully you're not the 1%. And then you have a 70% chance of increasing your special attack. On top of that, if you do this 3 times, hopefully at the end of that, you're either +2 or +3. Even being +1 is better than nothing, but you're also ready to terastallize. This is different than like using a move like Nasty Plot, because you can Nasty Plot 3 times, and yes, you're at +6, but you have to attack 3 more times in order to terastallize. We're also giving Thundurus Snarl, so it can control special attackers, whereas Tornadus can control physical attackers. But Snarl also has 95% accuracy, so giving it the wide lens increases that to 100% accuracy. The last move I was going to put on this was going to be Thunder Wave, so you can fish for paralysis, which Thunder Wave is 90% accurate. It increases it to 99 with the wide lens. But I think Rain Dance is good here too, to pair with Wild Bolt Storm, which does have a 20% chance to paralyze. But this is where it gets like specifically up to your playstyle, because Thunder is a little bit stronger and also has a 30% chance to paralyze, where Wild Bolt only has a 20% chance to paralyze. But Wild Bolt is 80% accurate and Thunder is 70% accurate. Both would be 100% accurate in the rain. But with the wide lens, Wild Bolt goes from 80% accuracy to 88% accuracy. And if we were doing Thunder without the rain, we would go from 70% accuracy to 77% accuracy. You could ignore all that and just go Thunderbolt, which is a little bit weaker of a move, but it has 100% accuracy. But that move only has a 10% chance to paralyze. So I think because we are running the wide lens, Wild Bolt going from 80 to 88 is a little bit better than 70 going to 77. And we still have an option of going 100% accuracy once we run rain. I think this is just a trade-off on your playstyle. Like, you could get rid of Rain Dance, you could just go Thunderbolt, and then instead of Wild Bolt and instead of Rain Dance, you can go Thunder Wave. Paralyze, you still get the paralysis chance at the start of the raid, because you would open with Thunder Wave ideally. But totally up to your playstyle. I think, again, it's like the most exciting thing about raids is like you can do so much. So hopefully that gives you some thoughts on how to do Thundurus. This is the Thundurus I'm going to do. If anything you get from this video, you now know the signature moves and how they have an accuracy increase in the rain, except for Enamorus's. And unsure if this is, I guess I should put a disclosure, unsure if this is intentional or not. It seems intentional because they're like wind-based moves and these are like weather-based Pokemon, but it's like weird that Landorus gets that accuracy in the rain. It would make more sense for Landorus to get that accuracy increase in like the sand, and maybe like Enamorus, because it's called springtime, would make sense in the sun. But 3 of them work in the rain, and then Enamorus's doesn't work in the rain. So it's a little confusing. But speaking of Landorus, let's talk about Landorus, because he is a great Pokemon. He's very good and competitive because of his Therian form. We're going to be talking about the Incarnate form today, obviously. Before we get to our next Pokemon, if you have been enjoying these raid builds, if you find them helpful, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. These raid builds take a lot of time. I sit during my Twitch streams and we calculate moves and we calculate damage. We go over all the possibility of options and what would be good and what are like ideal steps of how people play in groups. Again, I love doing these videos, and if my raid builds have helped you out, the easiest way you can help me out is by liking the video, hitting the subscribe button, maybe leaving a comment, all that YouTube algorithm stuff. So Landorus doesn't have the same base stat total as Thundurus or Tornadus. It's actually slightly stronger. And even though we'll see that Landorus has a higher physical attack than its special attack, we're actually going to do special attack again. And the reason we're going to do that is because of its hidden ability, Sheer Force. Let me give you an example. If you have a move like Psychic has a 10% chance of lowering the special defense. Psychic with Sheer Force will do 30% more damage, but you do not get that 10% chance to lower the special defense. It just goes away completely. Also, Sheer Force works with Life Orb. So Life Orb gives you a 30% increase of damage at the cost of you taking recoil damage every turn. So Landorus with Sheer Force gets a 30% increase on specific moves. We'll go over those moves. And you get another 30% damage increase because of Life Orb, but you're not taking any recoil damage at all. Landorus is weak to water and is 4 times weak to ice, so don't bring it to any ice raids. And the moveset we're going to actually use is Earth Power, which qualifies for the Sheer Force boost, Sludge Bomb, which also qualifies for the Sheer Force boost, Nasty Plot, and Taunt. Now, the downside of the Sheer Force boost is that it takes a lot of moves that have secondary effects and completely removes them and just turns them into pure attacks. But ultimately, this leaves us with a very powerful special ground type attacker because of Earth Power, because of Sheer Force, and because of Life Orb. Psychic, Sludge Bomb, and Earth Power all qualify for Sheer Force. Sludge Bomb has a chance to poison, that goes away. Psychic has a chance of lowering special defense, that goes away. And then Earth Power has a chance of, I think, also lowering special defense. And all those go away in return for a 30% damage increase. With that being said, the reason I'm picking Sludge Bomb over Psychic is because you would be able to hit both Fairy and Grass Pokemon for super effective with Sludge Bomb. Earth Power would cover Fire, Poison, Electric, Rock, and Steel. You could go Psychic, and Psychic would cover Poison and Fighting, but you're already covering Poison with Ground anyways, so Earth Power would still be better in that situation. But again, that's kind of preference. You have Nasty Plot, you have Taunt. You're a little bit limited here, which is kind of funny because the first 2 Pokemon, Thundurus and Tornadus, we talked so much about how they have so many different moves and so much diversity. But Landorus kind of feels worse than Kyogre and Groudon. If you go back and you watch my Kyogre Groudon Rayquaza video, Groudon and Kyogre, there are some moves you can switch around and some playstyles you can fit. But Landorus with Sheer Force is very, this is all you got going. But it's still good. Like, we talked about Ursaluna being this belly drum powerhouse, physical ground type attacker. This Landorus is a really great ground special attacker. Okay, let's finally talk about Enamorus. Enamorus is a weird Pokemon because it's only coming from one game currently, which is Pokemon Legends Arceus, and it requires you to get pretty far into that game to get an Enamorus. Whereas the other forces of nature, you can get them from Dynamax Adventure, you can get them from Pokemon Go, you can get them from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Going back, even with like Sword and Shield and Dynamax Adventure, you don't have to be particularly far in that game to get the forces of nature and move them over. Enamorus, on the other hand, I think a lot of people maybe only have one of these. And so I was conflicted with this raid build because if you're going to put resources into Enamorus, this is probably the one I would say don't have an Incarnate form and just focus on the Therian form of Enamorus for raids. But that's going to be another video. If for whatever reason you want to do Incarnate form, this is what I have for you. So Enamorus is weak to Electric, Ice, Poison, Steel, and Rock. The same base stat total as Thundurus and Tornadus. Slightly higher special attack. But if you want to make the Incarnate form work, we're actually going to go with an Adamant nature and go into a physical build because of its ability Contrary. And this is the moveset. This is it. It's just 2 moves and that's it. So what Contrary does is any negative stat change becomes a positive and any positive stat change becomes a negative. Let me give you an example. If somebody used the move Chilling Water on you, normally Chilling Water decreases your attack by 1 stage, but if you do that with a Pokemon that has Contrary, instead of decreasing your attack stat by 1 stage, it increases your attack stat by 1 stage. If you guys remember, during 2 7-star raids, one being Chestnut and then the other being Pikachu, I actually built a Lurantis with Contrary. Leaf Storm is a very powerful grass type move, and when you use Leaf Storm, your special attack decreases by 2 stages, but because of Contrary, it actually increases by 2 stages after you use the move. The reason we're running an Adamant Enamorus is to open up with 3 superpowers, and superpower decreases your attack and your defense by 1 stage. But with Contrary, your attack and your defense go up by 1 stage every time you use it. So ultimately, what you do here is you do 3 superpowers. You are now +3 attack, +3 defense, and then you terrestrialize and you hit play rough. So you have a very powerful play rough, and you become a very bulky, physically bulky Enamorus because you keep getting a defense boost. Now, Enamorus does do a lot of damage by being adamant and having a base attack of 115. There are better physical fairy type Pokemon like Zacian, but Zacian is weak to ground, whereas Enamorus cannot be hit by ground because it's flying. So there are some justifications for why you would want to maybe have both. The item you could put on Enamorus would be Assault Vest, because Assault Vest will boost your special defense by 50%. It makes Enamorus bulky in there, and then the superpower will increase your physical defense every time you use it because of Contrary. You could also put on like Iron Head or Zen Headbutt for other coverage. Because those are physical type moves, they'll take advantage of the superpower buffs. I think if anything, if you only have one Enamorus, I think the turtle is better. But if you really like Enamorus and you like its incarnate form, this is the best I can do for Enamorus. Cool. And though those are the forces of nature, at least the incarnate forms of forces of nature. If you're watching this when this video comes out, which I believe is on Friday morning, and you've made it to the end, comment below whether you would like to see Zacian and Zamazenta next, or Mew and Mewtwo next. Those are the Pokemon that I think I want to do this weekend, but I probably only have time to do one of the pairs, and then the other one will be later next week. So, and then we have Galarian Birds, we have Sinnoh Legends, we have a lot of other Pokemon that we can cover for raid builds. But for the next video, if you don't have anything to comment, let me at least know if you want Mewtwo and Mew, or if you want Zacian and Zamazenta next, and then I will try to make that happen over the weekend. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.